Joining me now on this special broadcast from the Bharat Mandapam is India Today's Paulami Saha and Mosmi Singh. Paulami, to you first. India's preparations, the world is watching it and everyone's talking about it. But when it comes to the joint declaration, is there still a lot of ground to be covered? You've spoken to a number of officials. What's the sense that you're picking up?
They have, of course, put their heads together over the last couple of days. The Sherpas of all the G20 countries and cloistered in Manesar outside of the national capital are trying to, of course, put together their document, which will be, of course, called the New Delhi Leaders Declaration. And obviously, there were two major sticking points that we heard of from, of course, our sources who were working over there in terms of putting this document together. One, of course, was how the phraseology of how you're going to put across the kind of pressure that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has brought about, and of course in terms of climate action, because there are countries which were not quite happy. In the Bali Declaration, there was a reference, for instance, about the phasing out of fossil fuels altogether. Saudi Arabia, for one, was not very happy. So in terms of climate action and the kind of, onus which is put on developed nations, which is what India has been reiterating. The Prime Minister has reiterated that in his thoughts that he, in fact, shared with the public yesterday. Before, of course, today and the G20 Summit, he, in fact, said that the developing countries bear the brunt when we're not even the major polluters and emitters of carbon, emissions, and hence, of course, that is also going to be a sticking point. But it is a work under progress, is what we are being told. The communique is still, in terms of negotiations, they are still underway, but almost ready, is what Amitabh Kant said.
Okay, some distance to be covered, and that will be covered when all the heads of state and government sit together. They'll put their heads together and try and find middle ground. I want to cut across to Mosmi Singh. And Mosmi, you spoke to the only journalist who managed to speak to Harshvardhan Shringla, India's G20 coordinator, on the ground that's been covered so far and the road ahead. And he sounds extremely optimistic at this stage, Mosmi.
Absolutely, Gaurav. Even in the presser, the officials clearly outlaid that fact that, there was a declaration in the making. Already there were deliberations and discussions, and there could be indicating big takeaways from the final leaders' declaration at the end of the summit. And not only that, they were emphasizing, Mr. Shringla clearly said, that this was an entire Jan Bhagidari of sorts that we saw in the G20, where, unlike other countries, India took this G20 to its cities, to its people, and, involved the public at large. Even here where I'm standing, Gaurav, this is the entire Digital India exhibition hall, where, that entire push towards the digital public infrastructure is very evident here with, the speaking tree, the Diksha, the Digi Locker, and here you can see the Gita. You could ask all the Gyan of the Gita, and this is what we are showcasing to the world at large, that India has the ability to think beyond the mundane and, act as a world leader. It's not only enough to have economic power and strength, but it's also about the power of the mind, the psychological strength and the vision that the country has.
That's a very important point that you make. And Paulami, this is India's big push. Paulami, India is the mother of democracy. The Prime Minister said that. It's being emphasized repeatedly. India's talking about, as Mosmi was emphasizing, the cooperative federalism. G20 summits in other countries restricted to perhaps one city or two cities, the capital city and another city. In India, 200 plus meetings across 60 cities in every state, whether ruled by the BJP or opposition. And this is the point that government is making. The G20 summit is not just about one party or one one city. It's about the entire country participating, Pauline.
That's right. In fact, that is exactly what Amitabh Kant, the India Sherpa to the G20, also reiterated, that this, in fact, was a very beautiful display of cooperative federalism. Mostly when G20 summits are held in various countries, they are restricted to possibly the national capital, maybe a couple of more cities, but that's about it. But India took it to 60 different cities across India's 30 states and union territories, 200 plus events and meetings that were held, 100,000 delegates who participated in all of these events. So it was a big, grand show where the Prime Minister's vision was that all of these delegates, in fact, foreign delegates who were visiting India for the various ministerial meetings and events that were held in this entire year in the run-up to the culmination of this Leaders Summit, should in fact see the diverse heritage, culture, the demography of India, and that's exactly what was put out on display.